Technology. Whether you like it or not, technology has overflowed this generation by creating new opportunities in every way possible. This meant new ways to work, and new ways to learn. This also meant a new way to pass time, and that was video games. The video game industry has changed a lot since the first game ever, Tennis for Two. The earliest of genres of video games were violent video games. This whole idea can be considered as an umbrella term for any game that contained guns or violent actions. Violent video games range from different aspects, or the reality of violence included within. For example, games like Halo illustrated the sci-fi aspect of modern violence, while games like Super Mario portrayed cartoon characters and violence that was more appealing to children.
One of the most eagerly awaited video games finally goes on sale.
Preparing to rewrite retail history.
Video game is expected to have bigger first-day revenues than any movie has ever had an opening day at the box office.
Biggest retail launch in entertainment history.
Dozens of grown men and probably about 3 women have crawled out of their parents' basements tonight to be first in line to buy the new video game Halo 2.
Video gamers across the country are anxiously awaiting the midnight release of a game called Halo 2.
45 minutes and counting for Halo 2 to go on sale.
The line right now is probably about 100 yards long.
It is the most anticipated game in entertainment history.
Well, if you're an Xbox gamer, there's a good chance you're pretty tired right now.
Halo 2 sold 2.4 million units in 24 hours.
Now, I understand there's a few more states to put in the red and blue columns. We're going to go back to the map and Rob Corddry. Rob, looking at the... Rob.
Yeah, suck it. Where's your alien plasma rifle now? Wow. Oh.
Are you playing Halo?
No.
The anticipation around that, coming, that Halo 2 was going to land, I think it was just a kind of magical moment.
Since 1958, the video game industry has grown to unbelievable levels. In the United States alone, as many as 97% of the kids play video games, contributing to the $21.53 billion industry in the nation. More than 50% of the top-selling video games contain violence. Violent video games have been the scapegoat for school shootings, bullying, and violence towards women for many years now. Many big outlet news sources have covered the topic. For example, even Time, having an article called "Violent Video Games Are Linked to Aggression," study says. Throughout this article, they push the idea that violent video games are correlated with violent actions by citing the American Physiological Association once or twice without a lot of information. Other news outlets do the same and don't make a fair argument for whatever side they're supporting. This shows how much the media is blowing up the topic out of proportion to attract clicks and be relevant. There's basically 2 arguments to this topic. One where people say violent video games are correlated and a major influence on violent actions, and another that says violent video games and violent actions aren't correlated at all. There are multiple cases of violent video games being blamed for the cause of school shootings. For example, the Parkland school shooter recited lines from the game Call of Duty, saying, "Die, die, die," multiple times before the shooting. Apparently the shooter spent hours on end playing violent video games, most of the time to unsafe levels of 15 hours a day. People say that the attempts to stop him from playing were the reason for his violent outbreaks. 3 Xbox game consoles were seized after the massacre. In a 2014 interview with Cruz's mother, it was learned that the Xbox game console was one of the sources of Cruz's outbreaks at home. Quote, "He would swear when losing, and when his cord broke, he kicked a hole in the wall and ripped the drapes off when his mom didn't replace the cord quickly enough." Over many years, Cruz received tons of therapy sessions from the Henderson Behavioral Health, the largest mental health organization in the area. He saw multiple in-school therapists and was recommended to leave Xbox and video games as his only therapy for his anger issues. Quote, "The use of video games as an anger management tool was an unmitigated disaster." The other side of this argument is that violent video games and violence are not correlated. In a new study conducted by doctors Christopher Ferguson and Cherry Olson, it was discovered that violent video games did not cause high-risk teens to become aggressive bullies or delinquents. The study actually instead found that playing these games had a very slight calming effect on the youth with attention-deficient symptoms and helped to reduce aggressive and bullying behavior. Ferguson even said, quote, "Statistically speaking, it would actually be more unusual if a youth, delinquent, or shooter did not play violent video games, given the majority of youth and young men play such games at least occasionally." A neutral side of the argument, Douglas Gentle, PhD, who runs a media research lab at Iowa State University, says that, quote, "Video games are not inherently good or bad, just as any tool is not inherently good or bad. For example, an axe can be used to split logs for a fire to keep people warm on a cold day, or it can be used as a weapon. Likewise, video games can have both positive and negative effects." Personally, I think that violent video games and violent actions aren't related. But in this day and age, it's important that we have this argument and debate on this topic, because it's valuable for everyone in this world, and video games are a major aspect of people's lives.